What if I told you we could grow fresh, delicious food almost anywhere, say in the middle of a bustling city, without using a single handful of soil? It sounds a little out there, right? Well, that's the whole idea behind a technology called aerofarming, and it's making us ask some pretty wild questions.
I mean, seriously, how do you farm without soil? It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it? Growing crisp lettuce and herbs with nothing but air. But this isn't science fiction. So let's really get into it and figure out how it works, and maybe more importantly, why we'd even want to do this in the first place.
Okay, so why bother? Why go through all the trouble of growing food without soil when we've been doing it the same way for thousands of years? Well, to get that, we have to take a hard look at the hidden costs of the farms we rely on today. They've been feeding us forever, but they've also developed a pretty serious thirst. And that, right there, is the heart of the problem. You see, traditional farming is unbelievably hungry for two things that we're starting to realize are not infinite: fresh water and wide open land. It's a pretty simple equation, but one with a massive, massive impact. Farming as we know it uses staggering amounts of water. In fact, agriculture is responsible for about 70% of all the fresh water we use globally. Just let that number sink in. And, of course, it needs huge amounts of land. With our global population growing and cities expanding, that's a puzzle that's getting tougher and tougher to solve. So, faced with that challenge, some really smart people came up with an idea that just flips the whole thing on its head. What if we could pretty much take soil and land completely out of the picture? And this is it. This is aerofarming, also known as aeroponics. The core idea is actually super simple when you think about it. Instead of putting a plant in the ground, you just don't. You let its roots hang right out in the open air. And then you spray them with a mist that's packed with all the nutrients they need. That's really the whole concept. Okay, so that sounds pretty cool in theory, but what does it actually look like? How does one of these soil-free farms actually work? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the different parts. When you really break it down, an aerofarm is basically a five-star hotel for plants. You've got a growth chamber where they live, a special cocktail of nutrients mixed into a water tank, and a whole system of tiny nozzles to deliver it as a super fine mist. Then you just add some special LED lights to act as a personal sun, and bam, you've got a perfect, totally self-contained environment for growing.
And the process itself? It's just brilliantly efficient. So the plant's roots are just hanging there, totally exposed to the air. Then, on a timer, a pump kicks in and mists them with that nutrient-rich water. Now, the key here is that the roots get an incredible amount of oxygen, way more than they would in soil, and that just supercharges their growth. And get this, nothing is wasted. Any extra mist just drips down, gets collected, and is used in the next cycle. It's a perfect little closed-loop system.
All right, so the tech is clever for sure, but does it actually deliver? Does it make a real difference? Well, this is where the story goes from just being interesting to being an absolute game changer. The results are, well, they're pretty astonishing. Just look at this number, 90 to 95%. Let that sink in for a second. That's how much less water aerofarming uses compared to a traditional farm out in a field. We're not talking about a small improvement here. This is a totally different universe of efficiency. In a world where water is getting more and more precious, a number like that isn't just impressive, it's potentially revolutionary. And you know what? The amazing results don't stop with water. Not even close. Because you're building vertically, up instead of out, the amount of land you need is tiny, which makes it perfect for cities. The plants actually grow faster because of all that oxygen their roots are getting. Oh, and because it's a closed-off, clean environment, pests aren't really a problem, which means you barely need any pesticides, if at all. So let's just put this all together. What we have here is a system that can grow more food faster using way, way fewer resources. And maybe the most important part, it can do it right in the heart of our cities, exactly where most of us live. It's a total rethink of what a farm is and where it can